My brother was in a plane crash while rushing back to celebrate my birthday. No body was ever found. My whole family was plunged into grief, and my parents poured all the blame onto my head. From then on, they forced me to kneel before my brother's empty grave on my birthday, to repent to the heavens. Until my 18th birthday, when I was being stalked by a stranger, I trembled as I sent a text message for help. But my mother called me back just to scold me. "Are you just making up excuses so you don't have to kneel again? You pathological liar. Why wasn't it you who died that year?" Before the phone was stomped to pieces by my attacker, all I heard was the cold, flat dial tone. My mother had hung up without a second thought, and with it, missed the only chance to save me. I was dismembered into many pieces, packed into trash bags, and discarded in different parts of the city. Even when my father, the forensic pathologist in charge of this case, examined the remains, he didn't recognize me. Then, my brother happily returned home with his new wife. When they found out that pile of mutilated flesh was me, they both went mad. When my father received the urgent summons to the police station, my body parts were still scattered across various city districts, yet to be found. Outside, thunder roared and rain poured down. The entire police force, along with the K-9 unit, was conducting a citywide search. Captain Miller, drenched to the bone, walked in carrying a blood-soaked bag. "This bag isn't wet. Dr. Vance, see if you can check it for the killer's biological traces." My father nodded and opened the bag. Inside were pieces of dark red flesh, cut as neatly as steak. In an instant, my father's eyes turned bloodshot, and he panted as if trying to suppress his rage. This monster has no humanity. He dared to cut the victim up while she was still alive. It had been 8 years. This was the first time my father had cried for me. Captain Miller also looked uncomfortable, not daring to speak and disturb him. As each bag of remains was found and brought to the station, my body was pieced back together, bit by my father. A day and a night passed. He maintained a hunched posture the entire time, his eyes filled with blood vessels. A skinless, dark red human form gradually took shape. Captain Miller couldn't hold it in any longer, ran to the side to vomit, and then asked, "No skin. Was the killer afraid of leaving traces?" "No." My father took a deep breath. "This is torture." The victim was skinned alive. The killer clearly tortured the victim intentionally. Furthermore, from the state of some of the blood clots, after skinning her, the killer rubbed salt on the wounds with each cut of the knife. It seems the victim was in agony, struggling for hours, while the killer stood by, enjoying his crime. My father was, indeed, the best forensic pathologist in the city. His description of my death was not wrong in the slightest. "Damn it! That son of a bitch!" Captain Miller cursed. The victim's facial skin was peeled off and has been soaked in sulfuric acid, so her features cannot be identified. From the wear on the teeth, we can deduce the victim's age is between 16 and 20. And the bag containing the victim's bones, which the killer kept, is missing the right leg bone. It's highly likely the victim's leg bone had a congenital defect or a mark from a surgery that could prove her identity. The killer is very careful, leaving no traces related to himself. However, I can reconstruct the victim's appearance through cranial reconstruction, but it will take time. Captain Miller patted my father's shoulder, his eyes falling on what was supposed to be my right leg, and he suddenly frowned. "Dr. Vance, doesn't this method resemble that of the rainy day butcher from back then?" The hand that was removing a glove from my father trembled slightly. 8 years ago, because my father had found the evidence that cornered the rainy day butcher, the killer had tampered with my brother's flight, causing him and my brother to die in the crash together. My father had always treated that matter as a taboo. If this killer is really related to him, Dr. Vance, tell your wife to have your family stay indoors for the next few days. If the rainy day butcher hasn't changed his methods, the person most likely to be targeted next is Alara. Hearing my name, my father instinctively frowned. Shouldn't she be dead? My father's soft reply made the entire forensic lab fall silent. That sentence hurt 1,000,000 times more than the killer's blade on my skin. I had thought that 8 years of coldness, criticism, and humiliation might have lessened my father's hatred for me, but no. He had always wanted me to die. "Dr. Vance." Captain Miller's voice was stern. If those words reached the girl's ears, what would she think? What she thinks has nothing to do with me. If she hadn't insisted on Kevin coming back to celebrate her birthday, my son would have escaped. How could he have been found by the rainy day butcher? My father panted, his eyes bloodshot, like a cornered animal letting out a desperate, sorrowful roar. My son is dead. He died when he was only 18. Not a single bone was left. His mother and I searched the mountains where the plane crashed for 8 years. 8 years, and we haven't found a single thing belonging to our son. Words like these had been carved into my flesh and blood through my parents' mouths for the past 8 years. They repeated again and again that I was the one who killed my brother. My midnight dreams were of my father grabbing me by the neck at my brother's funeral, repeatedly asking, "Why wasn't it you who died?" I had also thought, why wasn't it me who died? If it had been, I would still be the little girl loved by the whole family, not the harbinger of disaster hated by them all. Captain Miller sighed. Kevin is gone. Do you really have to watch Alara meet with an accident before you regret it? I looked towards my father, also waiting for an answer. It would be for the best if something happened to her. The light in my eyes completely went out. Now that I am dead, Father, will you be happy to know this? At that moment, a police officer brought in a blood-stained phone charm. A soft white lamb the size of a fingertip stained with blood. My father only glanced at it and then signaled to his assistant. A normal keychain. Take it to the lab to see if the blood on it belongs to the victim. I stared at my father, stunned. It turned out he had already forgotten that this was the self-defense phone charm he himself had once given me. At that time, because of my father's work, he had offended many people. Once, my mother and I were kidnapped on the street by 2 criminals on a motorcycle. My mother held onto the criminal's arm tightly and was dragged along the road for dozens of feet. My father, in order to save me, was stabbed in the chest by the criminal. The police had arranged for people to protect us. After my father was discharged from the hospital, he gave me this fluffy doll phone charm. Inside it was hidden a mini high-voltage taser. At that time, my father patiently taught me how to use it, stroked my hair and said, "From now on, even if Dad isn't by your side, you can protect yourself." Now, the person who had given me that gift had forgotten it and casually said it was just a normal item. Father, you have missed the chance to verify your daughter's identity. After arranging his work, my father took a moment to look at his phone and discovered my distress message. Being a meticulous person, he immediately called his wife. I thought finally they would realize something had happened to me. But the moment my father opened his mouth, he was blaming me. How many years has she been playing this "I'm being followed" drama? Alara still dares to send me this kind of message. Tell her to go kneel in front of Kevin's grave for a few more days to remember her place. I didn't. Father, I really am in trouble. The body you just pieced together is me. I'm not lying. Please believe me just once. My father's brow furrowed tightly, his annoyance clear on his face. I hoped my mother would worry about me and realize something was wrong. After all, ever since the incident 8 years ago where I was followed and the misunderstanding with my father, I no longer dared to send these kinds of messages to my parents. The first thing my mother did was comfort my father, telling him not to get angry and harm his health, and then coldly and sharply agreed. I also received that pile of annoying messages. Can't she live one day in peace? I've already warned Alara not to come home for the next few days and to go kneel at her brother's grave. Just looking at her makes me angry. I listened as my parents listed all my faults one by one. My father also didn't forget to remind mother to lock the windows and be careful. In the end, it didn't even occur to them to wonder if I, being out there, might encounter some misfortune. I leaned against the corner of the wall in grievance, my chest aching. No one cared about my death at all. I want to file a report. My friend Alara Vance is missing. She's been missing for 2 days. Outside, a familiar voice sounded. In the main hall, my only best friend and deskmate, Bella Foster, was talking to the police. She said my phone was unreachable, and that we had clearly made plans to meet. But I had stood her up. Seeing her so worried that her eyes were red, my heart twisted in pain. I wanted to reach out and wipe her tears, but my hand passed right through her face. I stared blankly at my friend, both crying and laughing. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for saving me. When the police asked her for my parents' contact information, my father walked into the hall. He shot Bella a sidelong glance and then told the police, "No need to record it. I am Ilara Vance's father. The girl is not missing. She just made a mistake and is grounded from going out with her bad friends." The words "bad friends" were emphasized. I saw Bella's face turn pale, and she lowered her head in shame. Bella was not a bad friend. She would cover my head with her coat when she saw me crying in a corner. She would pretend to be a picky eater and give her share of food to me when I was hungry. She would chase away the people who bullied me all over the schoolyard with a poop-stained mop. She would hold my hand tightly when I was isolated by others and say that the two of us had successfully isolated the entire class. She, Bella Foster, was clearly the best friend in my life. Being an elder in the photo, no one doubted my father's words. My disappearance, because it was denied by a parent, was once again plunged into darkness. I watched Bella leave the police station in a daze, tears streaming down her face. I wanted to follow her, but I could only be imprisoned by my father's side. I watched him handle my skull, and then followed him home after work. The dinner table was unchanged. There was still braised fish, stir-fried crab with chili, and steamed shrimp. My mother remembered my brother's favorites but didn't want to remember that I was allergic to seafood. Once, at the dinner table, my father asked me why I wasn't eating. I thought he would finally show me some love. I held my chopsticks tightly and gathered all my courage. "Dad, I'm allergic to seafood." My mother slammed her chopsticks down, pointed at my face, and scolded me. "What kind of sin did I commit to give birth to an ungrateful thing like you? I worked so hard to cook a table full of food, and now it's my fault?" I looked at my father in confusion. My great hero. The one who had protected me when I was little every time my mother was angry. This time, my great hero just picked up a large piece of crab and put it in my bowl. "Be good and eat your food. Don't make your mother angry." I was surrounded by their gazes, as if not eating was a crime. In the end, that terrifying plate of crab all went into my stomach. That day, my throat swelled so much I could hardly breathe. I tried to open my eyes, but I couldn't see clearly. My whole body was in pain and itchy. "Help! Help me!" My voice was hoarse. I stumbled to the door and wanted to open it, but no matter how I turned the knob, it wouldn't open. Fear washed over me in that moment. I raised my hands and beat on the door, trying to make a sound. "Help! Help me! Dad! Mom! Help me! I don't want to die!" Vaguely, I heard my mother's voice coming from the living room. "It's just an allergy, she won't die." Good thing I locked the door. All she knows is how to play pitiful. It's disgusting. Last night, Kevin came to me in a dream and said he wanted the latest game console. "You go quickly or the supermarket will close." "Don't! Mom, Dad, don't leave me. I don't want to die. Mom, Dad, save me!" The living room door slammed shut with a thud. I was completely abandoned. Fine, let it be. Maybe after I die, it won't hurt anymore. I curled up in a corner, waiting for death. The sound of a father and daughter laughing downstairs reached my one ear that could still hear clearly. "You silly girl, you know you're allergic to peanuts, but you still dare to eat them? You almost lost your life." "I'm sorry, Daddy. I didn't do it on purpose. Please don't tell Mom. Your mom already knows." She was so worried she threw her back out. "Your mom even cooked a whole table of your favorite foods waiting for you to come home. As long as you're okay, that's all that matters." How can parents ever truly hold a grudge against their own child? I was like a foul insect in a gutter, yearning for someone else's happiness. In this moment, I felt ashamed of myself, with nowhere to hide. I also wanted my parents to love me, to care that I had food allergies. I also wanted my mom to cook my favorite dishes for me, to care for me. But I was just the evil child who had caused her brother's death, so I didn't deserve to be loved. But Mom, Dad, I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. I didn't die that day. At the last minute, I jumped out of the window and was taken to the hospital by someone who saved me. The doctor said it was lucky I got there in time. A little later, and my life would have been in danger. The auntie sitting by the hospital bed next to me peeled an orange for her daughter while saying to me, "It's a good thing you're okay." Otherwise, your parents would have been so worried. I watched with admiration as she broke off each segment of the orange and fed it to her daughter. The reflection in the glass was my solitary figure. I comforted myself, and, as if to declare it to the world, I laughed out loud and said, "That's right. My parents love me very, very much." Suddenly, the hospital room door was pushed open forcefully. I saw my parents rushing towards me. A wave of grievance washed over me from the bottom of my heart. I struggled through the pain to sit up, tears streaming down my face. "Dad, Mom, I was so scared. I was so scared I was going to die. Can you just hug me, even just once?" "Just once is okay." My mother grabbed me by the collar and dragged me from the hospital bed to the floor. The 4-needle was ripped out, and blood spurted from my arm, dripping onto the ground. "You wretch!" You pretend to be pitiful, make yourself have an allergic reaction, and then deliberately jump out the window so everyone will know, right? You want everyone to see that your father and I are abusing you. You want to destroy our reputation, don't you? Why didn't you just jump to your death? My mother pulled my arm hard, then started kicking me repeatedly. I curled into a ball, hugging my head, my body continuously being kicked. I never wanted to harm my parents. I just didn't want to die. I had gambled with the height of the 3rd-floor balcony and won, but I never expected to lose to the hatred my parents had for me. I looked up and saw my father's reflection in the glass. He was standing there, leaning against the wall, watching with a cold expression as my mother assaulted me. And the sister in the bed next to me was hugging her own little girl tightly, comforting her, patting her gently. The people gathered at the door of the hospital room looked at me with contempt and disgust, as if I were some evil child. The loving image of my parents that I had tried so hard to build for myself was completely torn apart in front of everyone. I lied to you all. My parents don't love me at all. They hate me more than anyone in the world. From then on, my parents cut off all my living expenses, and I applied to live in the school dormitory. Every day, I ate $1 buns and the free vegetable soup from the cafeteria. At night, I slept in a 16-person room, with only a thin mat and a flimsy blanket. Every semester, I used my entire scholarship to pay the few $100s for the dorm fee. As I moved on to middle and high school, the dorm fees increased. I could only throw myself into studying day and night, hoping that with each exam, I could inch my score a little higher to win a scholarship and survive. I had thought that if I just became more outstanding, my parents would eventually love me again. But that wasn't the case. Even when I held a near-perfect test paper in my hand, even when my relatives praised me, my mother would still coldly dismiss it. "She's an idiot. She's not even half as good as Kevin. How could she get such a high score?" Immediately after, her slap would land on my face. "Tell me, who did you cheat off of?" My cheek burned, and the pain in my heart was so intense I just wanted to disappear. Later, when my homeroom teacher called to confirm my achievement, my mother only glanced at the torn test papers in the trash and sneered. "Just a few points and she's showing off. Your brother used to get perfect scores in every subject. Not like you, useless." Having the nerve to show off with a score like that, along with the torn paper, my heart was also shredded to pieces. My parents liked smart children like my brother, so I tried my best to erase myself and become a version of him. I poured all my energy into my studies. Spring passed, summer came, autumn turned to winter. Heat rash, chapped skin, mosquito bites. They always found me in their respective seasons. When I walked out of the college entrance exam room, I finally had the chance to prove that I was a child just as brilliant as my brother. My parents will start to love me now, right? But I died just before the results of the college entrance exam were announced. Until I died, I was still unable to become the outstanding child loved by my parents like my brother was. I watched as my parents silently filled my brother's bowl with rice, silently picked out food for him. That scene repeated itself for 8 long years. Wasn't I the one who had caused my brother's death, the one who had made my parents become like this? So, I had no reason not to die. A knock on the door sounded, accompanied by a familiar voice from my memory. "Mom, Dad, open the door. I've brought my wife home." I saw my father, who was always so composed, hastily stand up and drop his bowl, shattering it. And my mother, who was always so strong, collapsed into her chair, tears welling in her eyes, repeatedly asking my father, "Is it him? Is it really him?" My father stumbled to the door, his hand on the doorknob for a long time before he finally opened it. The door swung open to reveal the tall man standing outside. I saw him. It was the brother I had caused to die 8 years ago. My father asked in a choked voice, "Kevin, is it really you?" My brother nodded forcefully, his eyes also red. "Dad, it's me. I'm back." My father, who always kept his emotions in check, suddenly lunged forward and hugged him tightly. His hands slapped hard on my brother's back as he choked out, "He's alive! He's alive! Son, Mom and Dad have been waiting for you for 8 years. You're finally back. Son, my Kevin is back." My mother ran over, clutching my brother's shirt, and buried her face in his chest, sobbing uncontrollably. "Where have you been all these years? Why didn't you call home even once?" My brother, his eyes red, comforted them. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I just wanted to become successful before coming back to make you proud. I didn't mean to hide it from you." My mother both chided and lovingly patted him, her cries releasing all the longing and pain of the past 8 years. My father helped my mother up and looked at my brother carefully. "That time, the plane crash, were you injured anywhere?" "That's right, we searched for you for 8 years. All the passengers died. We thought you also." My mother couldn't finish her sentence, covering her mouth with her hand, overcome with emotion. My brother pulled his parents to sit on the chairs and beat his chest. "Mom, Dad, don't worry. I wasn't on the plane that day." "Oh, right." He pulled the pregnant woman closer and introduced her happily. "Mom, Dad, this is my wife, your daughter-in-law. Her name is Haley." My father's memory was always very good. He immediately recognized the woman as my brother's girlfriend from 8 years ago, Haley, whose relationship my parents had opposed. It seemed he couldn't believe his own suspicion. "So, you didn't come back for 8 years, completely cut off contact just to run away with her?" His voice trembled slightly. My brother immediately knelt down to apologize, taking out a series of expensive gifts to make up for it. He admitted it. 8 years ago, he had faked his death to run away with the person he loved. A colossal sense of injustice crashed down, crushing me. My mother had screamed in rage at his funeral. "Why wasn't it you who died instead of him?" I was forced to kneel on his anniversary every year. Every day I had to eat plain rice with soy sauce, was forced to eat seafood until I nearly died. I was brutally beaten by my mother right in the hospital. I was shunned and cursed by everyone as a murderer, bullied by my friends. The torment of guilt and regret tortured me every sleepless night. My father's gray hair, my mother's hunched back. 8 years of remorse and resentment, along with my own death. All of it was to complete my brother's love story. How laughable. Truly laughable. My mother glanced at my father, defending my brother. "It's good that Kevin is back safely. You're about to be a grandfather. Why are you still talking about these things?" My father pressed his lips together and nodded. "That's right. As long as he's back, it's good." They returned to the image of kind and gentle parents. That warmth made me uncontrollably jealous. It turned out my parents also knew how to protect their children. Then why, when I was bullied at school and went to them for help, did my mother scold me? Why do people only bully you and not anyone else? It takes 2 hands to clap. If there wasn't a problem with you, who would bully you? My eyes red, looked towards my father. My mother sneered, then glanced at my father. "Mr. Vance, look at your daughter. She's trying to play the pitiful act again, as if the whole world has wronged her. Every day she puts on that miserable face. It's so annoying." My father coldly warned me, "Stop acting, Alara. You're disgusting like this." It was clear that I had wished day and night for my brother to return safely, but no one had told me that the truth would be so cruel, so bloody that it was impossible to face. I thought perhaps I really was the evil person my parents had said I was. "Oh right, where's Alara?" I even brought back birthday presents for her, from when she was 10 to 18. It was only then that my parents remembered me. They hastily stood up, intending to go to the cemetery to pick me up. My brother asked in surprise, "The cemetery? What is Alara doing there?" My father immediately fell silent, while my mother calmly explained, "Every year on the anniversary of the plane crash, your father and I make her kneel at your grave. But the girl never learns her lesson, so we had her kneel for a few more days." Auntie! How could you treat Alara like that? Who can kneel for 3 days straight like that? Mom, Dad, have you called her? My brother was agitated, his eyes clearly showing pain and pity. In the past, he had loved me more than even my parents. My brother used to save his allowance to take me out for good food. When I got into trouble, my brother would take the blame. When I was bullied, even if he was beaten black and blue, he would still fight the others off to protect me. He was clearly the best brother in the world, my hero. But now, brother, I don't dare to believe you anymore. My mother pursed her lips. She's old enough. What could happen? Stop talking, Mom. My brother immediately grabbed his car keys and walked out, his back a little unsteady. I'm going to find her. But I had already become mangled pieces of flesh on a forensic examination table. Even my own father didn't recognize me. Brother, how could you possibly find me? 3 hours later, my brother returned in the middle of a torrential downpour, soaked to the bone, his face dark and gloomy. Alara isn't there. Mom, Dad, she's missing. My mother only wordly clucked a few times, then got a dry towel for my brother to wipe himself. Go upstairs and change your clothes. Your room is still the same. Be careful not to catch a cold. When my mother said that, did she think of me, her daughter, kneeling in the rain at the cemetery? My brother let the towel fall to the floor. His once confident and proud figure was now hunched over, his lips trembling as he repeated, Mom, Dad, I said, Alara is missing. My father awkwardly comforted him. It's okay. Your sister has always been prone to throwing tantrums and running off like this. She probably just ran off to a friend's place. She's always been like this, don't worry. But Dad, didn't you just chase my only friend out of the police station? It turns out that habits are a terrifying thing. It was clear my parents knew they had wronged me, knew I had endured so much pain for 8 years. But during the entire time my brother was searching, my parents never made a single phone call to me. My brother slumped into a chair, running his hands through his hair in despair. She will definitely never forgive me. My parents and sister-in-law surrounded my brother, fussing over him with concern. In an instant, it seemed I had transformed from the killer of my brother to the source of the entire family's distress. My father said decisively, when Alara comes back, our whole family will treat her better, to make up for everything. But Dad, I'm not coming back. And there is no later anymore. The next day, my father gradually reconstructed my skull, feature by feature. The eyebrows, the eyes, the bridge of the nose, the lips bit by bit. My face took shape. When he finished his work, he leaned back slightly. Seeing the face that was a perfect replica of mine, the expression on his face suddenly froze. He stood up and stumbled back a few steps. No, how could it be Alara? No, this isn't real. I must have made a mistake. He rushed to destroy the reconstructed face, but the head of the forensics team entered just in time to stop him. The man grabbed my father's hand, about to ask what was wrong. But when he saw the face, his own expression changed instantly. Alara! My father struggled wildly, trying to destroy the reconstructed face. No, that's not Alara. I was wrong. I was wrong. My father repeated in a panic. Alara is at a friend's house relaxing. She's not dead. She's not dead. How long are you going to keep this up, Dr. Vance? Has your reconstruction work ever been wrong before? The captain's eyes were bloodshot. He took a list of hospitals from his pocket. Last night, we found the victim's missing right leg bone. It had drill holes from a steel plate. After checking with multiple hospitals, Alara's name was on that list. My father gradually stopped struggling, like a beached fish, his eyes wide and unmoving. He must have remembered then. That year I jumped from the building to save my life. I didn't break my leg, but it did break under my mother's kicks and his indifference. I watched my father, saw him shake his head continuously, his eyes red as he forced words through his teeth. With just this evidence, how can you be sure the victim is my daughter? It can't be Alara. It can't be. The captain patted my father's shoulder. Then let's just confirm it. Let's verify it once and for all. As if trusting no one. My father personally took my sample and his own for testing. He stood stiffly for several hours in front of the lab door, motionless. The final results were ready. Before opening the report, he even tried to feign relief, telling himself it definitely wasn't me. But when the results confirmed a 99% paternal match, the last ray of hope on his face shattered. He flipped the report over and over. Each number on it was a constant reminder that the very body parts he had personally stitched back together belonged to his own daughter. Clutching the report, he walked like a soulless corpse into the examination room. He found my bloody body, torn apart like a patched-up rag doll. No one understood the cause of a victim's death better than a forensic pathologist. My father's hand trembled as he reached out, but he didn't dare to touch my body, which no longer had a single intact piece of skin. My Alara, how much pain you must have been in. At first he tried to hold it in, choked sobs escaping his throat. But then the entire examination room echoed with his heart-wrenching wails. The captain shook his head, his eyes red. Dr. Vance, I told you, don't let yourself regret this later. Crying is useless now. What's important is to catch the killer, so Alara can rest in peace. My father clutched the captain's pant leg, no longer the strong figure he once was. Tears and snot streamed down his face as he begged. I'm begging you. You must catch him. You must catch him. The captain patted his shoulder, promising to catch the culprit. Because the shock of losing his daughter had severely affected his mental state, my father was given leave from the police force for a while. I silently followed behind my father, taking heavy steps on the road from the police headquarters back home. The salt and pepper hair at his temples had turned almost completely white in a short time. He just walked in the rain, like a strange clown, lonely and lost. From a nearby alley, a girl's cry for help rang out. The sound pierced through the rain, hitting my ears directly. My eyes narrowed. It was Bella Foster. My father quickly took out his phone to send a message, then charged like a leopard into the rain, into the alley. In the alley, a tall man in a black raincoat was holding a scalpel, cornering Bella. Hearing the noise, he turned his head, revealing only his eyes, which were fixed on my father. Those eyes held a madness that wanted to kill everything, a cruel excitement, and a twisted satisfaction. I couldn't stop the pain that was invading my body. It was a trembling that reached my very soul, a feeling of helplessness to the point of despair. The dark room I was tied up in, the cold scalpel cutting into my flesh, the bag full of human meat, the horrifying laughter. My father saw his attire and the scalpel and seemed to understand something. His eyes, red with hatred, stared at him. It was you who killed my daughter. I have to kill you. He grabbed a piece of scrap wood from the construction site next door and charged at the killer. My father had participated in many combat training sessions. He had a chance of winning. He used the piece of wood to pin the killer against the wall. But the killer started to provoke him. Forensic pathologist Vance, do you really plan to hand me over to the police? Your daughter was the prey I chose in this very alley. She screamed for you all to save her. So clueless. Huh. That's why I peeled her, layer by layer. Her screams sounded so beautiful. You bastard! I'll kill you! My father was provoked to the extreme. He used all his strength to press the piece of wood against the killer's neck, his eyes filled with only the intent to kill him. In his loss of vigilance, my father revealed many openings. The killer pulled out a scalpel hidden in his sleeve and quickly cut my father's wrist, causing him to bleed and lose strength immediately. The sound of police sirens wailed in the distance. The killer immediately tried to run. My father lunged forward and hugged him tightly, his arms and legs wrapped around him, refusing to let go. He even opened his mouth and bit down hard on the killer's hand. The killer screamed like a pig being slaughtered. His scream unexpectedly dissipated the fear in me. It turned out no one is invincible and no one is unbeatable. He fumbled around, picked up a piece of wood with a rusty nail, and slammed it into my father's back. He repeatedly pressed on the wound. Blood flowed endlessly, nearly soaking the back of my father's shirt in red. I saw my father's body tremble. He gritted his teeth, refusing to let go, even biting off half of the killer's hand. The killer shrieked, pulled the nail out, and stabbed my father repeatedly. My father's face grew pale. In a moment of weakness, the killer escaped his grasp, but my father grabbed onto his leg. No matter how he was kicked, my father wouldn't let go. I heard my father continuously whisper a name. Alara. Alara. My tears fell unexpectedly. The love I had craved for 8 years had finally come, but it was too late. The killer finally escaped in that moment. The captain led his men to the scene. He was about to help my father up, but my father just weakly raised his hand and pointed in the direction the killer had fled. Don't worry about me. Catch him. Captain Miller quickly took off his coat and draped it over my father's shoulders, then hastily left to pursue the suspect with his colleagues. My father turned to look at Bella Foster, who was still in shock, and gently reassured her. Young lady, are you okay? Bella looked up with red, swollen eyes, filled with hatred. Alara is dead, isn't she? What the killer said was true, right? Hearing Bella's question, my father's face turned even paler. His silence was the answer, causing Bella to completely lose control. It was you! You were the one who killed Alara. If it weren't for you people forcing her to go to the cemetery, to kneel before your useless son's grave, she wouldn't have been in trouble. That day, I clearly felt something was wrong and came to report it to the police, but you stopped me. If I had reported it then, maybe Alara wouldn't have had to die. For all these years, have you ever cared about her? When she was bullied by her classmates, when they burned her arms with cigarette butts, where were you? When she was called a fatherless and motherless orphan, where were you? When she sent you a message for help, where were you? Just when I was about to find her, you jumped in and interfered. It was you who extinguished her last ray of hope. Do you have any idea how much Alara valued you people? Because you didn't like stubborn children, she let you hit and scold her without daring to fight back. You didn't like children with bad grades, so she buried her head in her studies day and night, to the point that her hands were covered in painful and itchy winter sores. She once told me that she had killed her brother, so she deserved to bear your anger. But it's been 8 years. A full 8 years. Are your hearts made of stone? Or was Alara never your daughter to begin with? Your family doesn't deserve to be her family. If I were her, having parents like you, I would never forgive you in this lifetime. If I had to die, I would want to go far away just so I wouldn't have to look at people who stain my eyes. Bella burst into tears and ran off, leaving my father lying in pain on the ground. He struggled to get up, stood silently watching Bella's retreating figure, and then, wearing the captain's leather jacket, quietly followed her from a distance. When he saw that Bella had gotten home safely, I turned to look at my father. I wanted to say thank you, but my heart was filled with complicated emotions. I respected him for his courage in protecting the safety of the people, but I also resented the coldness and indifference he had deliberately shown. His figure stumbled back a few steps, having to lean against a tree by the road to stay upright. Alara, if I had read the message sooner that day and run to protect you, would you have been able to come home safely like that little girl? The rain poured down, making it impossible to tell if what was streaming down his face was tears or rainwater. I only saw that his eyes were red, so red it was heartbreaking. But father, in this world, there are no ifs. He didn't go to the hospital. He just silently returned home without a word. The house at night was brightly lit. The table was filled with a lavish feast. My mother, my brother, and my sister-in-law were eating, talking, and laughing happily. Seeing my father walk in, my mother called out, "Oh my, why are you so soaked? Hurry up and change your clothes and come eat. The whole family is here. We're just missing you." The whole family, my father coldly glanced at the laughing people, then suddenly flipped the entire dining table. The sudden change startled everyone. My mother and my brother immediately shielded my sister-in-law. My mother screamed in anger. "What are you doing?" Kevin and his wife have only been back for a few days. I worked so hard to prepare a table full of food. I was waiting for you to come home to celebrate, and now you're acting up again. Don't forget, his wife is pregnant with your grandson. Is that all you have in your eyes? Then where is Alara? My mother frowned. Isn't Alara out with her friends? The girl doesn't like to come home. Why should I miss her? Do I owe her something? My father's eyes turned red. He stared at my mother. Then do you know that Alara is dead? My mother shot up. Dr. Vance, this joke isn't funny at all. My brother also turned pale. Could it be that my sister still hasn't forgiven me, so she doesn't want to come back? Dad is just lying to us. How could my sister be dead? My mother quickly nodded, walked over, and grabbed my father's arm tightly. Dr. Vance, tell me, is it that the girl is angry because she found out Kevin faked his death, so she refuses to come back, which is why you have to lie? It must be that girl who came up with this trick. She loves to joke around. My father suddenly slapped my mother across the face. His lips trembled as he looked at her. Alara doesn't lie. Do you remember the rainy night a few days ago that I told you about the autopsy? That night, the person I had to identify was Alara. My mother shook her head repeatedly. Impossible. You're lying to me. Alara clearly called me. The girl is fine. Her words suddenly stopped, her face gradually turning pale. That day, my mother had heard my cries for help but had told me I was lying. The phone, smashed under the killer's foot, she had assumed was me hanging up in a fit of pique. She had delayed my last chance of being saved. The room suddenly became deathly silent. My father's phone rang. Captain Miller was calling to report that the killer had been captured. My father looked at everyone and said, "If you want to know more, follow me." No one said a word. They all went to the police station together, standing outside the interrogation room behind one-way glass. In the interrogation room, the killer deliberately shouted my father's name. After getting special permission, my father was allowed to enter the room. The moment he saw my father, the killer broke into a satisfied smile. Forensic pathologist Vance, 8 years ago, your relentless pursuit caused my brother and your son to die together. 8 years later, I will let you experience the pain of losing a child, to let you see your family line end. You, don't be so impatient, Dr. Vance. Do you want to know how your daughter died? I'll confess everything. That video is still in my phone's album. The killer boasted smugly to my father. The video was played on the screen in the interrogation room and in the observation room outside. A small rain-soaked alley where he had cornered me. In the video, my voice was trembling, but I tried to bargain with him. I've already sent a message to my parents. My father is a police officer. They'll be here soon. You'd better run now or you won't be able to escape. Is that so? He glanced at the shattered phone under his foot. But from the sound of it, it doesn't seem like your mother believes you, does it? You little liar. That title really suits you. In the video, he grabbed me by the hair. I struggled, screaming for help frantically. Suddenly, the screen went dark, the sound cutting out. A small white plush toy was pressed against his neck, and then my calm and firm voice rang out. Don't move, or you'll find out what the power of a taser feels like. This is the self-defense weapon my father made especially for me. You just get ready to be arrested. Could it be that it's not working? My voice was panicked, disbelieving. His voice echoed like a demon's. Haha, 8 years ago. The first time I followed you. You used this trick, didn't you? Alara Vance, using the same trick twice won't work. It turned out, the person who had followed me in the first week after the plane crash 8 years ago was also him. It was just that at that time, I had called my father for help, and when my father arrived, the person I had knocked out was gone. From then on, my father always thought I was making things up. My father also seemed to recall that memory, his expression suddenly changing. Dad, save me! Alara on the screen, her red-rimmed eyes full of regret, helplessness, and fear. It was only then that he remembered the blood-stained plush keychain he had found. It was the gift he had given me for self-defense. It was also the plush toy he had stomped to pieces because he thought I was too busy playing and not studying. After that, the screen was just black. The killer turned to look at my father, his tone challenging. I have to say, your daughter is quite something, daring to press her self-defense item against my neck. But it's a pity the taser was broken. Look at your guilty face. Could it be that you were the one who broke it? My father's face turned pale. His body, already injured, swayed even more, unsteady on his feet. As the killer's words faded, the video screen suddenly became clear. In a dark, simple basement, a girl had been injected with a drug and was tied tightly to an operating table. The killer's voice echoed as if from hell. "This is a drug I specially made for you. With it, you will have to be completely awake to enjoy this whole fun process with me." Of course, the feeling of pain will be multiplied. The cold scalpel easily cut through the skin. Blood gushed out immediately. After that, the screen was just a dark red of blood. My painful screams echoed throughout the video. "Dad, Mom, save me! Dad, Mom, why haven't you come to save me yet? Just kill me. Dad, Mom, Alara, I want to go home so badly." The entire room echoed with my miserable screams, which lasted for 3 whole hours. Witnessing a healthy girl being skinned, dismembered, her tendons pulled out, and her bones broken into mush, no one present was unmoved. Thanks to Dr. Vance destroying the taser, I was able to succeed so easily. The one who killed your daughter was you. Dr. Vance, how does it feel to kill your own daughter? Haha! Was it painful to stitch your own daughter back together? I'll kill you. You animal, I'll kill you. My father panted, his eyes red and swollen, glaring at the killer. My father raised his fist, intending to hit him, but was held back by a group of people. The killer was led away by the police. A long time later, my father suddenly squatted on the ground and punched his own head hard. What have I done? Outside, along with my mother's screams of pain and regret, "Alara, my Alara, my child, how much pain she must have been in. I was wrong. I was wrong." She collapsed to the ground. My brother cried out in alarm, "Mom!" His voice was so hoarse it was almost unrecognizable. In the hospital, after waking up, my mother had completely lost her voice. The doctor said it was due to extreme shock, that her subconscious was refusing to speak. The hurtful words of the past could be casually aimed at me. Now, I no longer expected any words of regret or love from her mouth. Things that come too late, given long after the moment they are needed, are like a piece of tofu left in the kitchen for a month, growing moldy before being served. Besides disgust, every bite is black, full of worms and mildew. It's too late, Mom. It turned out, after I, the unloved and deserving to die one, died, the family could not go back to the way it was. My mother always held onto my photo, never letting go. Luckily, the house had almost all photos of me destroyed. The photo she held in her hand was the one from my ID that had once been in my necklace, which had been enlarged and reprinted. She looked at her son, once considered a treasure, lost and then found again, and at her unborn grandchild, without a hint of emotion. Sometimes, she would suddenly fly into a rage, grab my brother's arm, and bite down, not letting go even when blood flowed, her eyes looking at my brother full of hatred. My brother would cry out in pain. My father, his hair now completely white, would always be the one to separate them, then patiently comfort my brother. "Don't blame your mother. She's just too heartbroken." Cough, 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 I hadn't stopped your mother that day. Oh well, which of us is innocent? I was forced to stay in this house, watching the 4 of them torture each other for over a month. Actually, I didn't know who to hate in the end. Should I hate my brother for talking to me and then faking his death? Should I hate my father for looking at me with cold indifference for 8 years? Should I hate my mother for beating, scolding, and resenting me for 8 years? Should I hate the cruel, abusive killer? As my father said, was my death really only caused by the killer? They each had a part, but a person who was never even loved, how can they learn to hate? They were not people who loved me, so even if my death was the worst possible outcome, it was a dream I had already dreamt 100 times. Without hope, there is no resentment, only regret. Just like on the day the college entrance exam results were released, my family's phone was ringing off the hook with calls from prestigious universities. With my near-perfect scores, I was being courted by various schools. Each call was a word of congratulations, but it was like a knife twisting in my family's hearts. Even my pregnant sister-in-law couldn't help but lean into my brother's arms and cry. She clearly had such a bright future ahead of her. This sentence seemed to touch a nerve and bring my mother back to normal. She put down my photo and cooked a table full of delicious food. No one was in the mood to eat. My father, who had never drunk alcohol before, drank several bottles in a row that day. That night, my mother lay in a full bathtub and slit her wrists. She held my photo, humming a lullaby as she gradually closed her eyes. Just one door away, my father, drunk, had collapsed onto the bed in his bedroom. He was facing away from the bathroom, his closed eyes still stained with tears. The next day, my father calmly arranged my mother's funeral. It was just that his back was even more hunched over. A few days later, my case was finally tried. The killer was sentenced to death and immediately executed. The sound of the gunshot rang out, and the nightmare that had enveloped me finally completely dissipated. My father suddenly coughed up blood and fainted. He was diagnosed with a severe tetanus infection. Knowing the result, my brother completely broke down, kneeling and begging the doctor to save him. But my father steadfastly refused treatment. My brother cried until he couldn't speak, asking word by word, "Dad, why? Mom has already left me. You want to leave too. What am I supposed to do? I'm begging you, please. I'm begging you to stay. Please stay, okay, Dad?" My father only smiled. "Because your mother and I both chose to do the wrong thing. At the time, I didn't stop your mother. Now you shouldn't stop me. Kevin, it's a lie to say I don't blame you. But I also deserve to die. We all have to pay the price for our mistakes." My father died. He died on the day he was trying to organize my funeral. On the same day, my brother also buried his father and the love he had given up everything to pursue for 8 years. My brother and his wife chose to divorce. He left all his assets to his wife and left. From that day on, in the cemetery, there was an extra man who would kneel before a grave from morning till night. Bella Foster brought the acceptance letter to the National Police Academy that we had once promised to get into together to visit me. I finally passed, just like we promised. Look, it says here, loyalty, service, justice, integrity. I've decided to become a good police officer, to protect everyone, your share included. I won't slack off, so don't you worry. But you cheeky girl, you left without my permission. Let's see. As punishment, you have to live freely and comfortably, live for yourself from now on. If you don't say anything, that means you agree. So it's settled. I pouted. Bella, you really are so bossy. I haven't even said anything. But, looking at the radiant smile on her lips and her red swollen eyes, I also smiled and nodded. So, it's settled. The restraints on my body suddenly vanished. My form gradually dissipated as light as the wind. A gentle breeze blew, and a flower was swept up and fell onto Bella's shoulder. On the rooftop, bathed in the sunset, Bella was complaining about the difficult exam. Alara turned her head, a smile sparkling in her eyes. "Bella, when you get into the academy, I'll be the first to bring you flowers to congratulate you." "Okay. It's a deal. It's a deal." "Bella, congratulations on getting into the academy." Bella held the bouquet, and a single tear fell onto a flower petal. She smiled at my tombstone. "Thank you."